Hello juniors, and welcome back to Computer Systems and Programming. For this video, we're going to be going through the final project requirements. So we'll just be touching on each one and kind of talking about it a little bit. So I'm going to kind of read through this activity prompt with you a little bit. Throughout programming, we have refined our ability to write code and solidify the process for completing a project. So the process is object, pseudocode, code. For the final project of programming, you will either be finding a problem that can be solved with code, creating a program, create a program that completes a task, like runs a function or does something, or another idea that isn't on this list that you get approved through me, Juan, and or AJ. All of your ideas must come to me, and then I'll talk to AJ and Juan about them if I'm not sure about it, but they must be approved by me and AJ or Juan. The final project has a broad range of topics it can cover and is open for you to explore potential opportunities with programming. So don't be limited to just these 3 different ideas we gave you. You can explore tons of different things, and if you come up with a good way of using your programming knowledge, just let us know how you want to do it, and we'll try to make it happen. But for whatever you do have these requirements that you need to meet. So the project must have a function that returns a value. So you must have the function that takes some input and returns something. Whoops. So it should like return a calculation or return a string or do something. The function shouldn't just run. It shouldn't just be a empty function. It needs to do something and then return that something. In the function or in the program, you must have a loop. So again, just something that runs through your program. It must be a working program. So depending on what your project is, it'll complete an objective, solve the problem, run the game, etc., etc. It'll do something, and it runs and works and completes its task. It must have comments on each function and for each group of code. So above each large group of code, large is kind of hard to describe, but it's around like 4 or 5. If anything is more than like 4 or 5 lines, or if you have a big if statement or a complex if statement, just put a comment above it saying what does this if statement do. Similarly, for any functions you have, make sure to put a comment above it saying this function does this, so that when someone's reading over your project, they know how to do all those things. You know about the importance of comments and how they can help our code. And then you also need to have a similar skill level of project. So whatever you're doing, it has to be around the projects that we have completed, around the same skill level. If there's any questions about this, it will be judged between you, me, and Juan and AJ. So if me, Juan, and AJ don't think that it's around the same skill, or that you're showing the same skills that we expect, then we're going to ask you to do a different project or to upgrade it a little bit to do cooler things. So just make sure that you're trying to hit the same skill level that we've been practicing towards. Finally, you must have a completed objective in pseudocode. So you must go through the whole programming process. Start with your objective. What is it supposed to do? Then underneath your objective, all the tasks you need to do to complete it. Then go over to your pseudocode, translate it into code, and then finally code the project itself. So no matter what you do, there's a lot of different variations in projects that you can do. You need to have these 6 items in there. There needs to be a function, needs to be a loop, must be a working or running program. You must have comments on each group of code and function. It must be similar in skill level to the other projects we've done. And you must have an objective and pseudocode. So here's kind of like step-by-step process to completing your final project. First, decide what you want to do. Second, complete the objective. What is it supposed to do, and what are the steps to complete it? Third, complete the objective or complete the pseudocode for the project. Finally, code the actual project so that it's a functioning program that follows the requirements. You'll submit this as a final project repository on Canvas, so you'll submit a link to it. And kind of going off these grades, our grades vary a little bit from Madison, so these grade points aren't exact, but knowing that you'll get some points for having an objective with the algorithm, you'll have some points for the pseudocode, and you'll have some points for completing the final project, the actual code. And then here's the same requirements from down there. If you have any questions about your final project, feel free to reach out to me in email, and we can talk through it. In the past, I've been willing to talk with a student to come up with ideas, but if you really need help, just let me know, and we can go through it together and figure out a project that you can do. All right, juniors, I will see you later.